next up, it's me on stage again for more fun, and I'm going to bring up a panel, and we're focusing on a topic that's been slightly neglected today, generally. So we're going to be looking at building, deployment, and monetizing AI. So I'd love my panelists, Armen, Rick, and Matt. Please join me on the stage. Take a seat. A round of applause for my panelists. Hello, Matt. Hello, Rick. Hello, Armen. I did tell you stage left, and then we've completely changed during the day. So we've got a well, as usual. I've made everyone run late. We're running a bit late, but we've got a good amount of time. Matt, I'll start with you. Would you give an introduction to yourself and also AI for it as well, please?
Yeah, cool. Thanks. Hi, everyone. Thanks for staying for the last, well, almost the last event of the day. But Matthew Briers.
Main event of the day.
Main event of the day. Talk about AI. Matthew Briers, co-founder and CEO of AI for us. So we capture conversations that are taking place within your customers' environments. And then we turn those conversations into insights. So we're looking for insights that can drive business process change to improve your interactions with your customers across compliance or customer service or customer experience, any of those kind of things that we do. So that's what we do. Thanks.
Great. Thanks, Matt. Rick?
Rick Garcia.
Shut this pushed on.
There we go. Yeah, okay. Rick Garcia, I run...
You could have shouted anyway, Rick.
Yeah, I could have. I run product and marketing for Momentum. We're a 700-person UC global provider in 60 or 70 countries, and we do network and lots and lots of teams.
Got you. And finally,
Armen Martirosyan, CEO and co-founder of a small company called BluIP. We're UCaaS, CCaaS traditional provider, but I call ourselves RAS, Result as a Service organization.
Oh, so like outcomes, I like this.
Bingo, yes,
yeah.
yes. Started deploying AI in 2019, believe it or not, before I could even spell AI. And that came from just listening to customer ask, if you will. So we have over a couple of thousand hospitality properties deployed on AI today. So that's our focus now.
Got you. So vertical focus in hospitality as well. So while neither Matt or Dom are in the room, I can... one of the key topics today, and as I said, a couple of people in my CX panelists mentioned it earlier on, are we focused too much on AI? Is this like doing a panel on software where, you know, everything's software? Why are we, in a few years, everything's going to be sort of, are we talking about this in the wrong lens? Should we be ignoring the AI capability? I've gone completely off piece from the questions that were pre-prepped with you. Matt, I'll come to you first on that. Do you think we've got it on the wrong level, or am I too early for that?
AI should be ubiquitous.
That's what it, yeah.
Right, it should be, and it will be, and it's not there. There's really, like, all throughout the day, people talking about how we don't really understand how we're going to be using AI in maybe 4 or 5 years' time. We don't know. I think Dan from Destiny had a really good ending on his thing, which is, in order to know what the future is going to be, you have to build it yourself, and that's what we're all kind of on that journey right now. So we as an organization use AI within the business, like really push it within the business. So we've been pushing it for how we develop.
You've got it in the name.
Oh, yeah, absolutely, yeah. It's based like so Euphoria, and then we changed the EU to AI because that's how you'd feel from using the software. But it's not just about, someone else said it as well, about you need to use AI in your everyday lives within the business to be able to understand the value of AI in the products that you're then trying to sell to sipping your own champagne's nicer than.
Yes, that is better. That's much better. Yeah.
So that's my perspective is, yes, no, it's not like talking about software. It's more like understanding that there's a completely new paradigm, and in order to be able to sell that to people, you need to use it yourselves.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree with that. I've had the privilege of basically studying sort of AI for the last year, right? Unlike these guys who've deployed it, I haven't deployed it at all. But what I've had an opportunity to do is go figure out what the art of the possible is, and not just from a philosophical perspective, but literally building workflows, literally, you know, stress testing, you know, sort of any sort of agents that I build on several different platforms. and I think it's gonna be like water. Like it's not going to be
Yeah, the oil in your car is
yeah. It's like I'm super bullish on it because the capabilities now, once you kind of understand the art of the possible, you're sort of blown away, and you're like, I can use it in my business in a bunch of different ways, right? So these guys have built it into their offering, and I look at it. I haven't heard anyone talking about like vibe coding at all today or any coding in general, but more and more I'm talking to some of our competitors in the space, and they're just dipping their toe into, let's say, throwing on cursor and looking at their code from a cursor perspective.
We did a
right?
study of service providers last year. I think I talked to you about some of the data, and it was like 30. I mean, this will have changed in a year, but it was 30% of them are using it internally, and that was a study of like 100 big global service providers and telcos. So.
Yeah, and so that's where I look at it and go, if you're at the top of the chain and you're kind of throwing resources at it, I think you're in great shape because you will at some point develop something that you can take to market, or you're going to use it in operating your business way more efficiently, right? And when we talk about operating your business way more efficiently, it's not just in the CX space. It's not just that's just the segment that we're all used to because we're communications guys, right? But in every sort of facet of the business, whether it is accounting, whether it is developing, whether it's going to live in every facet. And I look at the stats when I see the whole 95% of the failures and stuff like that. I think the expectations are A, wrong, and B, I think people are deploying it in a way that's not solving a specific problem. They're looking at it too broadly from a AI umbrella perspective.
I completely. We talked about that in the previous session. Finbar mentioned as well. I think a lot of it also. I would be interested to how many of those were deployed in small proof of concepts or trials, which are then written off. Does that count as part of the 95%? So I think that's a very fair point.
I haven't paid a guy for a year to sit around and go figure some shit out.
Yeah, well, completely. And from your side, you talked about results as a service. You're not talking about AI as a service. So that means you're already not using the language of AI, you're talking about the outcome result-based. Is that so? Would you agree with sort of the way we need to talk about it is different?
Correct. And I think one critical element I think we need to understand is AI will not get built overnight. It's iterative. You have to start somewhere and start as small as possible and iterating on top of it. Because if you don't start, you're going to be late tomorrow. And if you try to take on too much all at the same time, you're going to fail. And I think that's where at least from the past experience, 95% comes in where the ask is so big, the expectation wasn't set properly for oops. AI is
trying to help it, desperately trying. I've asked Paul, desperately trying to, help me out with the powerful more details. Sorry, go on, please.
Sorry about that. AI kicked in. So iteration is really the key, is in setting the right expectation with customer being a partner of the outcome. That's why we call it result as a service, because customer is not buying a tech. They actually want to give you their challenge and for you to work with them to solve that challenge, to give them the results they need.
Yeah, look, what AI's done with our product is about understanding conversations that are taking place between human beings, but not just human beings, bots and human beings, but ultimately
so
it's about
machine to machine as well.
Yeah, absolutely, yeah, and that's great. But if we didn't really grab hold of AI in our whole development cycle so that we can speed things up, then we wouldn't be able to iterate as quickly as we can today. And the expectation, and we shouldn't be, failing isn't a problem. The whole point of AI is we can change things so quickly.
Fail
phenomenal. Fail fast, absolutely, is what, and telcos aren't typically very good at doing anything fast. So that's a concept that they need to kind of really embrace. But I agree with you. They need to dip their toe in and give it a go, because as soon as they start getting what they do have the ability to do is get vast amounts of data more quickly than anyone else, because they have so many customer conversations going through their platforms. So what we want to do is capture as many of those conversations as possible and start to drive insights off the back of it, so that organizations that are then building the agentic AI know what agentic AI to build and how to improve their agentic AI. Because like you said, let's build them, let's try it out, let's have a go at a customer service agent, let's see how that works. how well is that dealing with customer interactions versus a human? How can I take the best and do more of the best and look at what's not working and try and dial that down a bit? So that's how we kind of see it.
More recently, I've been super excited about kind of what we do in our business, right? Because we have a bunch of customers. Everybody out here has a bunch of customers, right? You've got Matt said it earlier at the beginning.
We'd always take more customers.
Route to market, right? You've got a route to market, so you have customers that you have that trust your network or trust your voice. And you know, we can sit there and go figure out either A, we can go build solutions specifically for the customer that is our existing customer, and we can build around that, or you can go build different solutions. If you're looking at kind of the edge case, not the edge cases, but the real sort of leaders in the space at this point, a lot of them are infrastructure plays, right? And you look at the pipeline creators, kind of guys like Crew AI or Pipecat as an example from Daily. There's a WebRTC company called Daily.co, and they're a global low latency WebRTC business. I don't know about you guys, but who in the room has a network? Like has data centers, has circuits, has, you know, like that's our business. Yeah. Right, that's our business, and there's somebody in Silicon Valley building a WebRTC business.
Crucial to the entire process.
It's going to be, right, because you look at I know your click to chat wasn't a massive component of the adoption just yet, but you look at that and you go, there's applications that we're embedding AI in our voice in, or there's everyone's got their scheduler that they use, and so more and more. I don't think people are going to move away from the number in some mass exodus, because a number is still a great unique identifier. But I do think that there's going to be more and more direct connectivity to organizations, right?
And that connectivity provision and the people who have it is key to this. I wanted to ask, and I'll come to you first on this. And again, it's dark. I'm not sure who's in the room. I tend to be slightly skeptical about it. Are the ones that are going to make the money out of this not Microsoft, OpenAI, the giant infrastructure as a service players who ultimately are running I was going to come to you first on that, because I know that's not the case. You're running a business of this, but from my sort of cynic's head, I'm thinking, is that bleed not just going to gradually go to the massively large providers that are providing the intelligence that's going into a lot of this?
Well, if you really think about it, providers themselves, they don't really do well when it comes to solutioning for a specific use case. That's where our value comes in.
So they might have a generic offering.
Exactly.
And that's where it comes to you in order to take it to a specific
Correct.
level. So
we use the hyperscalers to provide the capabilities, if you will. But at the end of the day, the customers come to us. We're vertical focused, specifically on hospitality, so we know their business better than they do their own. Yep. At the same time, you can go to an OpenAI or Google or AWS, ask for a specific outcome, if you will. They're platform players. So that's where we come in, and we work with the hyperscalers to be able to build custom tailor outcomes based on their LLMs behind the scenes with a specific intent on the front end side of it.
So, and that is transferable within so even though you've worked on a bespoke, unique use case, that is transferable within that vertical with some customization.
Exactly, correct. So give you an example, we deployed a AI for a very large resort on Vegas Strip, and initially they were asking us to do 50 other things. We said, no, let's actually start, and then the customer journey will tell us where we should go next.
That iterative process.
Exactly, the iterative. Why actually worry about the SMS or email and what have you if we don't see the need yet? And guess what? The first week that the first 90 days we deployed when we were monitoring, number one ask was a folio request.
Really, right.
Right, so it's like, okay, folio was never even their part of their journey that they were thinking it should be addressed.
They hadn't even mapped this. This was something that you knew from
correct.
previous experience. That, yeah.
So all of a sudden, their own data showed folio request is number one call reason. Yeah. And as soon as we deployed the folio request, the offload percentage went from a 40% to 80% offload.
Got you.
So it's really hyper-focused on the outcome is what drives the success of an AI. If you deploy it as a technology alone, you can have that 95% failure rate, if you will, if you don't take the outcome as part of the equation.
So it's that broad to the sort of the broad of the hyperscalers to the precision of the BluIP. Take my skeptical point. Microsoft, Google, whoever else.
Yeah, I think certainly they're going to, obviously, Microsoft will put their sort of the platform out there, right? Google's got theirs, and all these hyperscalers have their platform, but it's still going to take someone creating the product that's going to solve the exact problem. So same thing that Armen was talking about. It is about solving a specific problem that's a pain point. It's not creating a product, to go sort of, fill some. Maybe there's a product market fit that needs to be solved, but it's still a bit broad. It's got to be a really specific pain thing. I actually think that the hyperscalers will have some of the business in there, right? So you'll have some of the Microsoft components in there, but I think you're going to see like a little tornado of very specific platforms that do a really nice job at something very specific. I mean, you saw the list of, I don't know, a couple of hundred logos, right? That voice AI providers were out there, and they crop up every week, right? But they're solving a very specific problem, right? Their intention is to go in, solve a problem, make sure there is this product market fit, and then start to create a little moat around that one problem. And they can sit there and go find another problem and find another problem. And because they can iterate really fast, you're going to see the share of whatever it is you have there start to get eaten up by these guys. But I think you're going to see 3 or 4 providers. When I look at these, some of the providers that do, like Sierra as an example, voice AI, right? They're one of the largest guys, funded by OpenAI to some degree. You look at they still don't do that great of a job, because they've got this massive this overcast of, we're going to go do your customer service. What does that even mean, right? We're going to do your customer service. If there's not a specific pain point that you're solving, I think you're going to find it to be a failure.
I still want to come to you on my cynical point, but additionally, I think that raises another point. And for anyone who didn't see that, the voice AI piece that we talked about, I'll point you to my colleague Finbar's blog on the Cavell website. So we looked at the voice AI providers. Only, I think, 30% of them have any sort of go-to-market outside of direct. I might have got that the wrong way around, but they haven't got the go-to-market. They haven't got the routes to market, apart from their own websites and sales teams, that a lot of the people in this room have. So that presents a whole other problem in terms of,
or opportunity for us, right? Because you look at those guys, and they're small, nascent, sort of infant sort of companies, and you look at us, that we all have a base of customers that we work with, and you look at that and you go, I could either go on an M&A spree and go buy some of these products that are specific product market fits, and that fits a large segment of my customer base, or I could sit there and partner with them and not provide a lifeline, because I'm sure some of them will do okay, but at least you've got sort of an insight on a product that I can take to market, as an example, and go deliver on it. Because there's still difficulty in doing it with big platforms that you've got, the Microsoft of the world and WebEx as an example.
So to my cynical point, sort of, Matt, and obviously I fully appreciate there's an irony in this, and that you're all running businesses that leverage it. And Matt, your sort of thoughts on it going up the stack?
The fact is that the likes of Microsoft do not do verticalization on the level that AI enables you to do. That's not what they're about. They're about supporting partners to do that. They were quite clear at Mobile World Congress. They were saying there will be millions of agents, like different types of agents that are built by people over the next X amount of time. We couldn't possibly build those all ourselves. They have to create an environment that makes it easy to interoperate with. They've got some work still to do on that. But, and so that, I don't see, I see them as being enablers for us to be able to go and build solutions that actually drive outcomes for organizations. I think that's absolutely clear. There are so many more businesses out there, these small startups they're out there, I'm one of them, who are able to build applications so much more quickly because of agentic development, etc. What's interesting as well, though, is a lot of those organizations don't have a go-to-market, which I've been talking about loads today. I've been talking about that with people. They don't have a go-to-market. They don't understand voice. They don't understand. Voice is still, as we saw in your stuff, everyone's completely, like the renaissance of voice.
And voice data is so rich in terms of the amount of alleles of data you get from voice.
It's not a renaissance of voice. It's just people are now realizing that it's large language models now make it super quick and very good at understanding the semantic, what's being said within conversations. They're better at it than a lot of the people in the room, I would have thought. Yeah. And that's me included. I didn't mean it to be disrespectful. But they are so good. It's so good at understanding the content of conversations. It's phenomenal. And generating content that is understandable to is kind of mind-blowing. But a lot of these startups don't have knowledge of voice, they don't have knowledge of go-to-market, they don't understand how to implement their services that are kind of very like verticalized. They don't know how to do that. And everyone in the room here has got an ability at the Cavell event. They have that knowledge and information. They just need to embrace those organizations quickly. And the people, like you said, the people who dip their toes into it and do that faster will get the best benefit. But it does come at, there's a kind of double-edged sword to working with organizations that are startups, because in the telco world and the contact space, you also need to be compliant. So you have to think about.
I was literally just reading that, and we've got that. So let's hold the sort of compliant point, because that's a. I'll come to you on that, Rick. I know you wanted to.
Oh, I only wanted to jump in because he referenced your slides there, and I kind of had a little chuckle to myself because I saw the calls and the emails, and I think people are developing obviously for voice, and they're developing for messaging and maybe a couple of different channels, but you don't see anything out there for email. And I was just, to myself, I was kind of laughing because I built like a whole group of email agents that I started emailing and started talking to them via email, and I'm like, this is cracking me up. I mean, this is fantastic. Like, these are like, fake emails that I'm sending into myself and receiving back to myself like I'm a customer. And I'm like, man, this is so
Rick,
cool.
you need to get out more.
I don't.
Don, our head of applied AI, wrote something. He got fed up of all of the school emails. So just for fun, well, not for fun, just because he could.
Like what day sports day is?
But he's hooked it up. So he's written his agent that hooks up to his Gmail, automatically responds to anything to respond to, and then tells him if he's missed any responses that he needs to do. So now he doesn't read any school emails anymore.
Oh,
like,
nice.
That is cool.
It's brilliant. It's great.
Good lad.
I wonder if I could do. I don't know. Less said about that. Matt, so let's come on the security compliant point, because I think one of my questions was going to be about what are the sort of biggest risks, because I mean, one of the obvious risks is ignoring this and doing nothing. Yeah. And I mean, we've talked about that in other areas, and I was talking about it before with my panel on transitioning to be a CX first business, and we were talking about SaaS. And let's face it, if Avaya and Mitel are still out there, they the business is just about on the. There's a risk of them doing nothing, but there are also risks in terms of compliance. So just if you would.
Yeah, so kind of like almost like a can of worms that AI opens up, especially when you're using large language models, is that you're now not providing connections. It's now not about the ability to make a conversation or pick up the phone and answer the phone. Now you're looking into the contents of the conversations that your customers are having with their customers. That's valuable.
It's not just passing it through, you're now
No, you're looking at it.
Yeah.
You're analysing it.
I'm opening the envelope and I'm looking inside.
Exactly. So you're not the postman that gives a delivery service of that's a great example of sending a letter from A to B. Well done.
I'm really pleased.
I'm going to use that one again. I like that. Yeah, you are. You're opening it, you're reading it, and then you're turning around to them and you're saying, if you can't be bothered to read this, here's a summary of it. That's the basic stuff that's been around for a while. Or you're reading all of those letters and you're turning around and saying, okay, there's something wrong with how you're communicating with your customers in the first place that's causing them to write these letters to you. And we can understand and tell you that the reason why they're sending you these letters is because of this or this or this. So if you change all of these things, then the letters that you receive will have different content and will be more positive content than you had before. But that comes with, you've got to be able to evidence that you're looking after your customers' data really securely, even more securely than before, because you're holding the crown jewels. You've got their IP, you've got everything about that organization with regards, there's the obvious stuff like people ringing up to banks and they're saying, this is my name and address, so I can go through ID and V and all that sort of stuff. I mean, that's kind of obvious. But all of your information about how your company is operating is inside your communications with your customers.
What I think is interesting about that is you look at the information that's available to us today, and it's statistics driven. Right? Here's a number, Power BI, if Microsoft is in the room, you may or may not like this conversation, but you've got statistics, right? And that's what you see. You see this, this is happening, but you're not getting contextual information, right? But now, right, the contextual information is available instantly. So you go call data, email data, activity in Teams, let's just say data, SharePoint data, and now I can go build a CEO report and build a co-CEO and go, hey, you've got this churn report isn't just going to show you a number of churn, companies that are going to churn, but it's going to say, here's why we think they're going to churn. Here's why we think you're going to close this business, because I've gotten phone calls, I've gotten emails, I've had several meetings with these customers. There's a quote out.
And then the next step is, here's what we think you should do
Right.
to affect the change to stop the churn,
Yeah.
or to increase sales, or to increase your net
implementing it.
promoter score. Yeah.
From the what do you do to reassure your customers about security and compliance when you come to them? And so, for example, your example of the entertainment venue in Vegas, when you're looking at the Folio report, what I suppose you're starting iteratively, so you're only looking at certain parts of the data to a point, and you gradually build up. I was just wondering how that works from the BluIP perspective.
So we start small again, and then transparency is really the key. We actually have to educate the customer that the API that you give us is giving us more access than what we need.
Got you.
So being very transparent and asking for the specifics that you need, nothing less, nothing more, is building the trust. The customer will not give you the access unless they trust you. And the trust is built based on the transparency. I think that's the key. And are we going to fail? Of course we will. It's just a matter of when, right? I think we've gone through those challenges. But when you're transparent with the customer, when they trust you, then it becomes easier to create the solutions. Real life story. Somebody did a social engineering and they got breached. And at the end of the day, we were part of the construct,
The ecosystem.
the ecosystem. But because we were transparent with the other providers, they were able to address it immediately, almost immediately, if you will. So that's what, and the options like that actually bring customers even closer to you as a service provider from a trust point of view.
Got you. What I'd be really interested in sort of the last few minutes is just interesting examples. So Armen, maybe from a customer perspective, Rick from a customer perspective, or from business that you looked at, Matt from business that you help. Obviously, you don't have to name specific names or reveal anything, of things that maybe you've seen that you were really impressed with, or that you've done and you thought, actually, this has worked really well, or something that you've done that you thought might be easier and it's taken more time, or it's been more challenging. Rick, maybe start with you on that in terms of...
Impressed with. I'm easily impressed, but I'll give you a couple of examples, right? Just because this is sort of the front of my mind here. I was driving to get a haircut the other day, and I was running.
It always has to reference.
I'm sorry.
Every time
Sorry.
On stage, this
I
happens.
told you I
Literally
wouldn't
every
use that
time.
one, but I was.
Yeah.
And so I was driving to get a haircut, and I called them and I said, "Hey, I'm going to be 5 or 10 minutes late." And at 8 minutes, they kick you out of your appointment. But I was traveling, so I'm like, I really need my haircut, so please, stay with me. So I leave a voicemail. I get a text back. Right? I didn't get a voicemail or a call back. I got a text back, and it didn't analyze the email or my voicemail because there was nothing related to what I left in the voicemail. But it says, "How can we help you? Like, we saw that we missed your call. How can we help you?" And I'm like, "Hey, I'm running 10 minutes late. I want to make sure. No problem. We'll pass it on to the receptionist." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So I get to the haircut place. There's no receptionist, and there's no phone up front.
Right.
And I'm like, holy cow! So then it's intriguing.
You thought you were dealing with, the usual.
I'm like, they had somebody.
Yeah.
So now I go and I figure out. I go to the haircut place, like 40 different locations, and I go to their platform. That's their scheduling platform. And sure enough, their scheduling platform's integrated with Twilio, and I'm like, okay, so they've stopped their phone service. Yeah. And they're just like, okay, we're just going to take voicemails or whatever and just dump them somewhere, and then we'll just respond with text messaging and turn into a text message organization. So that was interesting to me, and so I was easily impressed with that. We came back and we built it in Teams. So Brandon and one of the folks over at Momentum, we got into the Graph API, pulled missed call data, ran a little sort of deducing thing in Power Automate, and we're able to do that, right? And so now we can go, hey, well, let's respond to you if you missed a call. I think that's kind of a cool thing. Yeah. But it's so simple compared to what we can do, right? But it's something that resonates with the customer.
It makes a really big difference. Yeah.
It bridges that gap for a customer that's like, we're way over here talking about some really cool stuff, and like a text message, a customer understands, right? Like a text message, it's a channel that's being used right now, right? Voice AI, they get that, so it's pretty exciting to go see the things you can build that really mean something to a customer, without blowing them away with, oh, you can do so much,
Okay. Matt, and it could be something that AI4 has done, something that you thought was
yeah,
really
no,
cool.
cool. So one of the things that we did was Don, head of our applied AI, his best man at his wedding has got a family law firm. So they were like, having a beer and saying, what can we do? It's super cool, it's exciting. What can we do with inside your world? And he
Is
said,
this
well,
going to be a clean story, Matt?
of course,
So I just said like
it's gonna be
wedding
a clean story, it's gonna be
stag.
clean. No. So basically, Pete turned around and said, can you automate the output of my meetings with clients? And I don't want any call recordings, and I don't want any transcriptions, because they're a discoverable event.
Got you.
And so you could read those later and interpret what was said on a call recording or a transcript in a different way to the way that I might want it to be interpreted. I'm like, you're a lawyer, what is this? So it turns out this is a standard thing for any lawyer who has a communication with the customer where they have to take customer meeting notes. Those meeting notes get stored against the record, and then they can use those meeting notes, their interpretation.
So there can't be any discrepancy between interpretation.
They don't
and
want a
fact.
discrepancy between
Got
a
you.
transcript and a call recording and that. So we're like, okay, this is a bit weird. So we got on board with that. And the difficult thing about it was doing it in such a way that we didn't have a transcript or a call recording. And then the cool thing about it was I was a bit worried. I was like, is it working? Are they liking it? There's not a lot of feedback going on. And we had a chat with Pete a couple of weeks ago. He went on holiday for 2 weeks. And when he got back from holiday, his employees turned around and said, this is awesome. I couldn't live without it anymore. I don't understand how it could be any better than it is at writing the notes, because it's written in legalese, which is like another language. And so that was super. That's something we're super excited about. And stuff that's tricky is, I think the same thing that a lot of people have said today, scaling. So it's really easy to get a laptop, have some fun, build something cool, do some Python, create OpenAI, do some really cool. You go, oh wow, look at the results.
So is this business scaling or within your own?
No,
business?
platform.
Yeah,
so
okay.
platform scaling at a telco level where you can do insights on every single conversation that are reproducible and at the same standard of insight on every single call.
And is that cost transparency as well, or just accuracy? Or?
Both. So cost and accuracy, getting rid of hallucinations, all that sort of stuff.
That's really interesting.
But getting it to scale is and economically, absolutely, where it's not cost prohibitive. Yeah.
Well, what's interesting about what you just said, the whole transcription and stuff like that. So over a weekend, I built a mobile app just for kicks and giggles to transcribe my cell phone calls, right? Just like, okay, let me just mess around and see if I can do this. And I could. I kept it in test environment, so I kept it in something called Expo. I built it with something called Bolt. Has anybody in here vibe coded at all? Like, I'd love to see hands and stuff like that. So does anybody know what Make is, or N8N, or Power Automate, right? Those are the things that are, you look at those things, and those are the things that are going to be vital to creating products that you're going to at some point either sell, or maybe you're at a level at some point where you kind of become that sort of platform provider. But those are the tools that make this whole world accelerate at a pace that as a traditional telco, let's just say, you wouldn't be able to keep up with, right? The iteration that you talked about earlier, the pace at what these 200 guys,
telco scale.
right? And so
But that's a point. So once you do that, it's cool and it's fun, and that's great fun, right? Now do that. We did an import with 88 terabytes of data. Get it to do 88 terabytes of data and ingest that at a pace that means that you're not waiting for months for the data to ingest. That's where you need the expertise. And that's the difficult thing, is going, I've got this awesome concept for doing this stuff with AI, but I want to do it at scale. And that's what I mean.
That's why my app's not
That's
published.
the gap, right?
That's why my app's not published.
But
It's
that's what I'm
sitting
saying.
on
And
I'm
that
agreeing
goes
with you.
back to your point about network capability as well, right? In terms of the actual sort of underlying plumbing of all of this underneath. I wanted to give you the last final word on this. You've already given us one example of the entertainment resort in Vegas and the fact that, but something that you've done that you thought was really cool or really made a difference, really demonstrated that ROI.
I'll actually share something very surprising. Because we sell into hospitality, they're very, very cost conscious. However, when we approach them with the agentic AI pricing, which is you pay per consumption, from my point of view, I think our pricing was very high. It's almost equal to a full-time employee. But when you actually showcase the value proposition and the ability,
annually over
correct, exactly. If you take the per minute cost and multiply by the hours, if you will, it's almost like a full-time employee. But when you showcase the value and how much more productive it is, it's really easy for them to say yes to. They actually tell us, oh, you're not charging me enough. Like, wow, or something is missing here. So that was a nice surprise that when you're driving it based on the specific outcome, with the customer being a partner with you, they're willing to pay you more even for the outcome that you're giving it to them.
That's really cool.
I just, on the consumption piece, I just thought of something like it'd be interesting if there's a billing company in the audience here. It'd be interesting to figure out if you're going to aggregate consumption models and do token-based billing for telcos, because telcos don't know how to do this.
Well, there's an additional challenge from an analyst perspective in terms of how do you model the financials of these markets when they're all effectively... Anyway, that's a separate side issue for the analyst. I just wanted to say we've run out of time for this particular panel. Massive round of applause for all of the panelists. We could have gone on about 3 hours. Matt from the AI4, Rick Garcia from Monetising, and Armen from BluIP. Please come up. If you could leave your mics on the stage, that would be great.